They finally did the AI thing. So we are back with big moves, big jives, and even bigger boogies for Manor Lords 1 year later. But more and more has been revealed by Slavic Magic and the team over at the Hooded Horse published game. There's so much more on its way for this medieval RTS, and I, for one, cannot wait. The team is starting to expand as well. I mean, it's no longer just Slavic Magic smacking his keyboard until he's blue in the face with gamer rage. There's about, I think they've mentioned about 9 more people who've actually officially joined or are just helping the team now. So this is why these updates are coming a little bit faster. As much as Manor Lords and a lot of its promotion was around it being a one-man team and this game being developed majoritively before its release by one guy, I think it's great that this team is starting to expand. I mean, with the amount of demands that comes with such an explosive new title, it is, well, no question that they're going to need more people, more resources. Now, they've been taken up by Hooded Horse, who have started to publish them now, and that content will start coming out very, very soon. Not just money-wise, but even promotions when it came to releases, and we are still in early access, so their help is going to be very, very useful later on when we get to a full release. But let's talk about that big jump in the AI, and that progression that we are seeing is, boy, oh boy, oh boy, this has to be one of the biggest improvements that we can or are about to see. So what is the AI update? Well, one of the biggest things that everybody has been calling for is the ability for the AI itself to form and run their own towns. I mean, we have Hildebolt, who is sort of the AI NPC overlord. You'll see their armies run onto the map. They'll patrol around and attack whichever bandits they come across. You know, those yellow colored coded troops. They will also try and take regions, and you'll be able to vote or even attack the regions that they own. Especially if you attack their regions, they get very, very angry towards the end and send huge armies at you. I've spent many a game where I thought I've been doing pretty well. Then all of a sudden I realized every region has been claimed, so that means they're coming for me next. And that's when the huge army spawns in and the defense is, well, really, really odd. But this is not just the way the game's going to be played for much longer. You see, the AI can now build and run its small village, or at least it will be able to in one of the more recent updates coming in the next year. Of course, this didn't come without a cost of huge amounts of processing resources and copious amounts of sanity lost, I'm assuming, but now the AI that has been introduced has got multiple new concepts within it. For example, they can do burgage plots, the houses that people live in. They can even do the backyard extensions. They can have living space expansions, so when you're producing these burgage plots and you can see a little plus symbol where an extra family can move in, well, the AI can do this as well. And this all wasn't within the first testing versions of this new AI, meaning that the general aim is to make pretty much whatever the player can do, be it building houses, vegetable plots, upgrades, even things like blacksmithing and farming, the AI will also be able to do as well. Even the marketplace is being introduced, so it means that trading will be a possibility at some point. I'm assuming this means we're going to see AI trading with not just the player, but outside of the map or even themselves. We've recently had the introduction of being able to trade between your different towns in different regions, and hopefully the AI will be able to do that. And you could just imagine a plethora of villages dotted around every little region. They're all taken up, all with their own little militias, all with their own little armies, and my god, oh my god, can they trade within each other. This is the game that I wanted. This was the game that I think a lot of people were expecting to see, and whilst it's taken a little bit more time because of, well, the starting lack of developers on it, it's coming. It is coming, and I am so glad that they're taking the time with it and they're putting in the amount of work. They've said, at least the developers, and I quote, "A lot of work was done to make sure that AI could use the plot tool properly. We are still working on improving its city planning skills and soon start working on its trading capabilities and farming." But I think in terms of the gameplay, this is going to be the biggest update for Manor Lords. At the moment, it is a fantastic single player game, but really content-wise, it feels like an early access title. However, I think once this new update is in, it's going to completely expand the way that people look at Manor Lords as a fully fledged game in itself. And whilst it had AAA sales, I think it's easy to forget that this is still really starting as an indie game, technically now maybe a AA game, if that. Hooded Horse aren't the biggest publisher in the world, but at least they've put some backing behind it, and you can imagine the revenue from the early access launch is going to be put back into this title. But there is so much more to this new developer blog than just that, and boy oh boy oh boy, can we go a little bit deeper. There is a new records view. This is basically a new screen that displays a lot of detailed information about your regional production and consumption. This is obviously in the menus where you've got your development and your policies, which are still being upgraded as a side note. Splitting between your resources and your trading, it will show you exactly what you had and, of course, the correlation between the time that you've played and how many resources you have in conjunction with that time. This is something that many of these games have we've seen it in a game like RimWorld. It shows you your iron, your food. It also shows you your wealth and how likely it is for raids to happen and more people are going to come at you. And this might also be a factor. As your wealth of your village goes up, you'll be able to see that line raise, and it might be that later on we see the AI react and respond to that. Maybe they're more likely to attack you the more resources you have. Of course, there will also be a record for trading, so you'll be able to see what trading you're bringing in, what you're exporting, and how much money you're getting from it. There is also an upkeep system coming into the game. Many of the buildings will now require upkeep, which means a smithy will need constant flow of tools and deep mines will need a flow of planks, because, well, if they don't have those resources, they cannot produce anything. But also the people that own, let's say, a blacksmith won't feel the need or have the resources in order to keep manufacturing things, so they're going to close shop and shut down, which is why this is a little simulation that's being added in. They're also working on a system where you can increase upkeep and work efficiency, meaning that you're going to need less tools, less iron in order to build certain things within the blacksmith, because, well, the blacksmiths are getting better. They're getting more efficient with the resources they use as they get more experienced. A really nice little detail. I spoke a little bit in one of the previous videos about stone castles being an upgrade. Well, this is how it's going to be implemented. There's going to be 2 new buildings, a quarry for endless stone mining on rich deposits and a lime kiln. Now, lime will now be required for these advanced stone constructions. Of course, quicklime was something that was often used to bleach walls and to whiten walls and make them feel extra gorgeously clean and, well, a massive part of construction. Now, the issue is with quicklime is it's very toxic, makes you very, very blind. Sharp Siege, there's an episode where the French are attacking and they get blinded by this quicklime. I'm sure you can't do that within this game, but it would be goddamn amazing. However, it is going to be a building that can be used within it as well. But let's talk a little bit about the AI and the pathfinding. Now, we've spoken about how they're going to have their own towns and villages, but within this advanced AI and the extra things they can do, it's going to have to be behind the scenes and mechanically a lot more sound, well, to try and negate some of the issues that could come with it. Pathfinding is something that I don't particularly find is a huge issue within Manor Lords. However, the extra addition and improvements in the future of the game, like we've seen here with extra AI villages, I think might cause some extra issues when it comes to AI not quite knowing where they're going. One such problem could be within the castles. These are being improved and introduced in a big way very soon to Manor Lords, but when you have people walking above each other or under each other, like the castle gate where you can walk across the portcullis, but people can also walk through the gate itself, having 2 levels of NPCs actually mechanically can cause some issues, so they are being improved as well. There are also the times where units garrison the castle on the walls. We can see that the pathfinding improvements that are being implemented into the game currently trying to help the units find their way around the outside of the walls. Now, many games do this by making walls thicker or passages wider so people don't bump in or even phase through bits of brickwork. However, Manor Lords is really trying to keep the scale realistic. Narrow passageways, tiny doors, and honestly, I think it actually looks great. I love the fact that maybe for the first time in history, we can see someone spent time to put castle palisades and walls that have banisters around the inside. It's such a strange concept that no medieval film or even games have banisters on the inside of medieval walls. I mean, in real life, of course they did. Otherwise, people would just fall off to their deaths. I mean, in fact, that was a very entertaining part of Rome Total War where men would fall off the inside of walls when they die, but it just isn't realistic. And Manor Lords is trying to implement that as well, try and make it as realistic as possible and bring those factors within it. And we can see some extra behind the scenes stuff of how they are going along. There's extra bits like the camera is getting system updates and the UI is being reworked. They're replacing a lot of the graphics with some proper manuscript inspired arts. This kind of reminds me when in Rome Total War they made those kind of, I guess it was like vase painting versions of the unit cards, and we're kind of getting that within Manor Lords, but this looks a lot more hand painted, hand drawn. They look goddamn gorgeous, and it actually displays the vibrance and color that really was within the medieval world. Fishing has been something that was recently added in. They could be on fishing in ponds, and these were set resources. Now, these ponds could freeze over, meaning that you couldn't fish within winter, but now within the winding rivers map, you can actually use rivers in order to be a resource node. If a region has a random pond resource node and a river, the river fishing spots will replace the pond. A little bit more realistic, a little bit cooler. And within the UI, we can see some more map resource nodes. When you zoom out into the world map, you can see there's a miner, there's a hunting ground, and you can also have a better look with these more colorful and brighter images. Overall, I think think this is going to be a huge year for Manor Lords, and in fact, I think there is so much more to come that is going to completely transform the game. I, for one, cannot wait for those AI updates and for actually starting to see AI build their own towns and villages within my game. But please let me know down in the comments which part are you most looking forward to. But subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more updates on the newest games. But until then, I will see you in the next one.